How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Big Day Dave, and this is a map tour for a new mod map to Farming Simulator 22 called Close to Home. We're going to start with the description from the mod hub, and it reads: Welcome to your own sandbox, close to home, a map based on a real place found in multiple locations throughout the world. The map was originally started as a sandbox for development of my own map creation tools and ideas, a safe place to make a mess. Eventually, the idea of making it an actual sandbox sprung to life. It brings a different point of view to Farming Simulator, and for me, it breathes life into the imaginative world of farming and construction I too, as a kid, used to roleplay in my own sandbox at home. For PC players, I highly encourage the use of a depth of field shader to enhance the miniature feeling. The map contains 19 fields, 26 farmlands, forests, 2 starter farms, cow farm, sheep farm, BGA, dairy, farmer's market, will buy all sorts of products, grain mill, grain silo, paper mill, sawmill, spinnery, train system. So the paper mill has an asterisk bias, and the asterisk is a reference to the Requires Platinum DLC, and they say any other production and factory can be built anywhere you like. There are mods required for this map, starting with the Sawmills pack by Ola Holdor, and the Buildings of Norway, also by Ola Hordor. This map was created by Ola Hordor and is 290.67 megabytes to download. And if we take a look at the map, this is what it looks like. You can see we start out on the map kind of in the middle-ish area, a little bit out towards the east. And actually, it's kind of an interesting starting point. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, kind of not quite sure where you start out at until you step out into the world. But let's kind of go through things first, and then we'll step out into the world. So, continuing to look at the map, we start out owning farmland number 8, which contains your starting farm, 2 wheat fields, and a grass field, all of which are ready to harvest. And technically, there's a third grass field that isn't numbered. I'm sorry, a second grass field that isn't numbered is right here. But it's just like one of your standard grass fields, like it's pre-planted. You'll be able to like go to it and actually plow it out and make it a fully functioning field. Let's see, field prices. If we kind of go around the map, now a lot of the fields are included with a lot of other lands, so they're a bit more expensive than I'd say the normal price. But you can see just how we have various different prices. These ones here were like in the 200,000s. You got 382,000, 169,000. Up here in the northwest, you have a forest area that's 629,000. Another area up top here is 560,000. This one's kind of a mix between forest and a field there, and you got 422,000. So it's pretty expensive. I mean, there's a lot going on. You can buy all areas in the map, and if you look, farmland number 1 is kind of the periphery of the map, and you can buy things like the shops and the various barns and buildings that are, or I'm sorry, the sell points and buildings like that. Going down here, we do have animals to start out with, or we should say we have animal barns and pastures to start out with. Contracts are available. No production change to start out with, and no collectibles on this map. If we take a look at mods specific to this map, under the buy menu, there is nothing here, but if I scroll down, you will see I do have the Platinum expansion installed for this tour, and there's a reason for that I'll show you later. But if we look under the build menu, there is nothing under the entire buildings tab. There is under the productions tab, under factories, nothing. Selling points, there is. If we scroll over, you have the close to home right there, the farmer's market. Then nothing under greenhouses, orchards, or generators. There's also nothing under animals and nothing under decorations. But under landscaping, if we take a look under painting, we do have several additional paint swatches here. And that's it. Nothing under trees, nothing under plants. So let's go ahead and kind of take a step out into the world and kind of get our bearings. Can anybody say, honey, I shrunk the person? Now, it took me a while to realize what this is, but I think this is a kind of bucket, like a backhoe bucket for a child. I think this is what this is. I could be wrong. But you are a miniature on this map. This is probably the most unique map you'll ever come across in Farming Simulator. Just, I'm thinking bar none. This one is an entirely new concept to this game. Now, you do start out in the middle of nowhere, and because of that, I'm going to go ahead and teleport to the starting farm, and that way we can start taking on the tour and take a look at our starting equipment. So let's go ahead and go there. And there we go. We are here at the starting farm. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our starting equipment. If we go under the buy menu under owned items, starting with small tractors, you have a Massey Ferguson 5S145. Under medium tractors, a Fendt 724 Vario. Harvesters, the Rosselmash Nova 330. Trailers, you have two Welger DK115s. The header for the Rosselmash, you have under cultivators, the Horsch Toronto 3FX. Seeders, the Nordstein HK25 NS3030. Under fertilizer spreaders, you have the Amazon ZATS3200. Mowers, you have the K-brand GMD 8730FF, as well as the GMD 3123F. Under windrowers, you have the Samaz Z2 840H. Balers, you have the Pottinger Impress 125F Pro. Bale wrappers, you have the Kverneland 7850C. Chainsaws, you have the Stihl MS261. Front loaders, you have the Quickie Q7M. Under front loader tools, you have the Albut pallet fork, universal bucket, and bale spike. Under weights, you have the Claas W900, and under winter equipment, you have the Samaz Tornado 252. So, decent amount of equipment to start out with, and let's take a look where we're at here. So, right here, we have a cow barn attached to another barn with a lot of our starting equipment in it. You have a milk point right here. Here is your cow barn trigger for 65 cows. I believe this is your feed point, and this is your slurry output. So we have a tractor right over here. We're going to hop into that. We're going to make our way to the rest of the farm. And as we're going around, just pay attention to all those kind of cool little details that are on this map that are just fantastic. You know, case in point, I want to show this just real quick. See that little garden hose right there? That is actually creating a river. It's kind of halfway buried, and the water's on it, and it's just creating a river just throughout the map. Just little details like that. It's just really kind of cool and very impressive. Like I said, this is by far the most unique map you'll see. It is very interesting. Sleep trigger right over here. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we've got some of our starting equipment off to the side here. We got some of it tucked away in the barn here. You can see. It's, yeah, it is definitely a small starting farm. Not a lot going on here. You've got the kind of wood wall that's around the entire portion of the map here. That is the walls of your sandbox. Over in that corner there, you have a giant, I don't know if they're called galoshes, or it's a rubber boot. You know, like a little kid's rubber boot. You got a little kid's shovel right there in front of you. Over here, though, now this is a fuel tank, but it works similar to a gas station, so I'm just going to call it a gas station. You know, it's just a refuel point. Right here you have a silo, which is acting as the train silo, and a rent train trigger. You can see right around the backside there is the unload and load point into the silo from the train. So now we're going to backtrack just a little ways. Come back out to this stretch of road. Like I said, there's just so many little cool details that are just so much fun. Like, this map is going to be thoroughly entertaining, at bare minimum. Now, there's no traffic on this map, so you don't have to worry about, cars or any pedestrians, because essentially what you're doing is you are taking up the imagination of a small child, and you are just playing Farming Simulator, or you're just playing farming. And you can kind of see the tip of that rubber boot right there in the corner. Large forestry area off to the left there. So anybody who's really keen on doing forestry work, got plenty of woods to go cut down. Now there is, because of the road network and the kind of sparseness of production points, sell points, things like that, each sell point and production point are kind of clustered around each other, but they're really, really spread out. So there's not a lot, or there's a lot of time in between like actual points of interest, but that can really be filled up with just seeing what's around you. You've got the big like barns and buildings like outside of the sandbox there, and then you have, I need to turn here. Then you got that crane, the backhoe bucket that we're coming up on. Now this is kind of off the beaten path, so we're kind of traveling around field 9 here. And then we're actually going to go off-road. And you can see how this kind of grass trail just kind of continues on over in this direction here through the trees. And we do have a little point of interest right up here. You have another rent train trigger out here for some reason. It's almost like this is going to be a potential loading zone for any forestry work done. So you could load onto the train so you could potentially sell off any lumber that you cut down. That's my guess, at least. And we're just going to continue on in this direction until we get back to the main road. Yeah, like I said, you can see like that giant crane bucket thing there. It's like I said, I'm pretty sure that's what that's supposed to be. Is it's just supposed to be like a child's like backhoe kind of thing. I could be 100% wrong about that, but like I think I've seen one of these like way back in the day when I was a really small child. It looks vaguely familiar to me. And now up here at the next road, we're going to make a left. And this is going to be kind of a unique area right over here. And I'll point out why I'm saying that. So, as you can see, coming up here to the left is the biogas plant. But this is the part that's unique. This is just a sell point. I've tried buying this area. I've gone around to see if there's any sort of indication that this is anything other than a sell point, and I see nothing to indicate that. So, yeah, this is not a production point. It's just a sell point. We have another gas station right there, another refuel point. And then this is the reason why I had the Platinum Expansion DLC installed. This is the paper mill. Come over here, hop up. You can buy this, or I'm sorry, the paper factory. This is 130,000 to buy. You have your, I'm stuck. There we go. You have your wood cell point right here with the wood cell trigger right here. And then your outputs, where is the output? It's around here somewhere. Why am I not seeing the output? Oh, there it is. It's because it's kind of hidden there in the grass. But there it is, right there along the side. So, right about here. Yeah, you can see it kind of buried in the grass. Alright, cool. And then continuing on. Off to the right, we have a bale and pallet storage right there. Way off in the distance there, right by the wall, you have another rent train point right here, with kind of a slightly elevated platform to load onto the train with. And then over here, we have a sawmill. It's actually the large sawmill. You can buy this for $150,000. Your wood chip output is here. Your wood cell point is right here with the wood cell trigger right there. And your output for your products is right here. And now we're gonna head on down the road just a ways. A little bit of backtracking first. We got to make our way back to the main road. Like I said, just kind of keep your eye open for all the cool little details that are on this map that are just sprinkled around throughout the entire map. Main road's right here. And like I said, we're just going to keep following this around. You can see just how much distance there is. And I think that's also to do with how we kind of are going around in this kind of clockwise motion. And the effect of that is where it's just kind of taking you out further than what you actually have to go if you're going like to point A to point B kind of thing. So up here, we have the grain mill. Now, this is a mod that I don't know exactly where everything is, but I'm going to give my most educated guess. So this is the grain mill, 96,000 to buy this. You have your inputs right here. Now, the outputs is where I've always questioned where this happens. I have never actually used this mod, so I'm not 100% certain. I think maybe down here is where it produces and puts out, but I mean, if we come out here, there's no checkerboards anywhere to indicate, you know, where it unloads, so it's just a guess. I have no idea where it puts it out. So now come through here. All right, to my right we have a rent train trigger. To my right, to my left, another gas station. Oh, and there goes the train. I mean, even the train looks like a little kid's model toy. Like the main engine there. Again, just so many little details that if you're paying attention, you're going to notice. But I feel like they're subtle enough to where it's just as easy just to not realize it, kind of thing. Like, I'm not talking about specifically like the big, you know, like the big yellow crane and the big toys and stuff like that, the galoshes or the rain boots. over in the corner. Just, you know, just little cool little details. Right here, we got the dairy for 70,000. You can purchase this. You have your output right here and your input just around the back over here. Back into the tractor and head back out. There we go. Back to the main road. And again, we've got a little ways to go before we get to the next point of interest. And there's tons of elevation shift. There's a lot of things that are breaking up the sight lines. And you know what? I'm going to save that to the very end before I say that last part. Hey, you've got the big kind of mountain range right there in the middle of the map. Like, there's just all sorts of different terrains that are being gone through in this one map alone. You know, you've got somewhat reasonably flat areas. You've got extremely hilly, mountainous areas. You've got forestries. You've got grasslands. You've got, like I said, the whole 9 yards. It just runs the kind of full spectrum of different types of areas that you can see on any given map. Got kind of rocky outcrops up here. Over here, we have the spinnery. And you can purchase it for $60,000. And over here is the output and the input right there. And then we come over here. This is the second farm. Now, if we take a look at the map, we started up here in this kind of general region here where the bucket is. We then came over to the farm where we kind of teleported. We saw the cow barn as well as the sleep trigger. And we took the tractor up and around over to here. We saw the gas station, the train silo, they just call it a normal silo, and the rent train trigger. We then came up and around over to this area here. If we keep following this around, we then came out here and saw the other rent train trigger. Back to the road, down and around, up to here, where we saw the biogas sell point, the gas station, the paper factory, the bale and pallet storage, rent train trigger, as well as the large sawmill. Came down here and around where we saw the grain mill, the rent train trigger, and the gas station, as well as over to here for the dairy. We then but came down in this area here. We saw the spinnery there, and now we are here. And if we purchase farmland number 24 for $188,570, which I need to go ahead and add some money. There we go. And now we buy it. You see a couple of triggers pop up. We've got a sleep trigger right there. And then up on top of the hill here, we have a sheep barn. A little bit of storage right there. Not a ton. There we go. Sheep barn. Room for 200 sheep. Feed goes in here, and your wool's pallets spawn right there. And now, head across the bridge. And then over here. To my left is the farmer's market sell point. And then here is the last set of points of interest. So, we'll pull in here. Alright, starting with the repair trigger right here. Actually, let me do that. Shop trigger right there. Animal dealer right here. I'll come back to this. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about it now. So if you have barns and pastures loaded onto your map already, you can come to this location or use the same icon at the barn or pasture to be able to purchase animals directly. Now, if you do this, you will be charged an additional fee to the cost of the animal. So, for an example, to come to this location and to purchase cows, you will be charged $100 per adult cow, in addition to the cost of the cow already. So if you want to try and avoid that additional cost, what you do is you come to this location with an animal trailer. Bring it here, load directly into your animal trailer, and then go and deliver the animals to the pens and pastures yourself. Now, that'll save you that money, and essentially what you're doing is you are being assessed a delivery fee because the animal dealer is charging you to do the delivery for you. So, leased animal trailer, owned animal trailer, it doesn't matter. Bring it to this location, pick up your animals, take it out yourself. We have an electrical charging point right there and a gas station. That is it. That is the map close to home. Now it is time to render my opinion. What do I think of this map? So normally I'd do a 0 to 5 scale. Well, I feel like I have to kind of do multiple scales for this map. So the reason being is that this map is unlike any other map that we have ever had in Farming Simulator, as far as I'm aware. And with that being said, as a Farming Simulator map, just taking out all the nuts and bolts and only worried about the kind of Farming Simulator aspect of the game. So, looking at it, great color palette. It uses a good contrast of colors. It doesn't have too much that would make it in the way of cartoony, quote unquote, and I'm coming back to that. So don't start yelling at your phone or your computer screens and saying that, well, how can you say it's not cartoony with a giant shovel in the background? Yes, I get that. But what I mean is that when you go into any normal farming map and you start seeing like every single color of the flower, collection is on the map and things just don't look like they belong, then that's what I mean by cartoony. Is it just looks so much like the rainbow is everywhere on the map and it's just bright, colorful, vibrant. It doesn't have that kind of true to life feel to it. But this map, excluding the whole premise of you're basically a miniature, you're like shrunk down, or you're like a kid playing with their toys, it seems accurate. Like you're just looking at the trees, you're looking at the colors and all that stuff. It just seems very kind of bland, and I shouldn't say bland, but very, very uniformed in the color, and it makes sense for what the area would be, kind of thing. Then you've got the kind of aspect of the way that the topography is laid out, the elevation, the rises and falls on this map. And you've got so much going on right now. You've got so much to break up the sight lines. You've got trees, you've got hills, you've got mountains, you've got dips, you've got valleys. I mean, you've got the whole 9 yards going to where it's really really very nice, in my opinion, because it's going to make it to where you're going to have to think about how you want to proceed on this map. And what I mean by that is you don't want to just get the minimum horsepower for equipment that is just going to do the job, kind of thing, that's just barely going to squeak by. Because once you start slapping on implements and you start doing things along those lines, going up and down these hills is going to be a nightmare. So you're going to want to save maybe a little bit extra money, have a little bit extra time put into things before you start getting your equipment, because you're not going to be able to get up and down the fields if you just go with the bare minimums, kind of thing. You can kind of see how this field here, this grass field, is laid out. It's not huge sweeping or anything like that, but it's got a pretty decent elevation shift on that field. You know, same thing coming up to this field here. It's again, it's not huge, but it's going to be enough to where if you have very low powered equipment, you're going to struggle getting up and down the hills, especially when you have the implement turned on. That's going to be zapping away all the power from your tractors, from your harvesters, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, overall, probably give this I'd probably give this a 4, somewhere in that ballpark for just a farming simulator map. Just for all the reasons I said there, but the reason I'd only give it a 4 as opposed to maybe something higher is because of the sort of lack of productions. There are some areas like the biogas plant here that just kind of seem like they're just plunked down. There's not really much going on around it. Now the nice thing is that you can buy the area, so because you can buy the area, you can kind of decorate it and build it up however you want. And a lot of the areas are like that. You get into this area over here and it's just a couple of barns and buildings with the sell point, or I'm sorry, the production point that's just kind of plunked down. A little bit of fencing, but it's really just kind of, just kind of here kind of thing. You've got these huge, massive gaps back here. Not gap, but just empty spaces. There's nothing going on right here. And it just looks open, just too open. So yeah, I would give this a 4, just for a farming simulator map, because it's got so much going for it. Couple little negatives, but nothing to, so much that would make me not want to play this and give it a lower score or anything like this. But now I need to kind of break it out into taking into account this kind of border and periphery kind of thing. Now, again, as a farming simulator map, taking that into account, this is kind of going to be like a little twofold. On one hand, I want to give it a 5. On one hand, I desperately want to give it a 5 because the creativity, I mean, an amazing idea to make a little sandbox of this being little miniatures and all this stuff. That's a brilliant idea. I think that's really cute and really kind of just a concept that hasn't been explored. And then you go into details like the garden hose, like the rain boots, like the crane, and the bucket loader, things like that. You got all those little cool little details, and then you got the the house that's in the background and the barn and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's just really, really unique and very interesting to say the least. But then another part of me wants to be like a 1, kind of give it a 1. And the reason that is because this is supposed to be a farming simulator. This is farming simulator. And yes, you get farming simulator, but it's like this kind of meta thing that's going on in the background. This kind of, thing within the game. And that's fine. Like, that's not like a disqualification or anything, but it's just one of those, like, because it's supposed to be farming simulator, you kind of want the aspect of reality kind of thing. And again, this is just maybe me kind of overthinking things. But you kind of want that, aspect of reality, that aspect of believability. Now, don't get me wrong, me saying that doesn't detract anything from this map. I mean, this definitely has a space, here in Farming Simulator. But it's got its own kind of uniqueness. And I think that's what kind of puts it over the top, is just how unique this map is, and how, nothing like this, again, as far as I'm aware, has ever been done. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, you look at this. You just kind of look from this angle over here. We'll back up just a ways. There we go. Oh, I'm stuck. There we go. And you just look around. You got the little shovel there in the background. You've got just all sorts of stuff that's going on, and it's just brilliant. I think there's a lot of cool things about this. So anyways, long story short, a 4 if all I'm caring about is like the farming, the map kind of thing, not taking into account the miniaturization, the kids kind of imagination kind of thing. Taking that into account, taking the imagination and all that stuff, 5 all day and night. Taking into account the fact that this is farming simulator and is supposed to be kind of a, you know, a take on real life equipment, real life areas, or at minimum things that could represent real life, I think that this would be around a 1. I don't think that this is, you know, a representation of what the game is intended, and I think that's part of its charm too. So all this to say, I love the map. I think it's brilliant, but I think it's going to have kind of a niche of people who are going to, you know, be able to play this as a kind of long-term investment kind of thing, to where there's going to be a segment of people who are going to be like, you know what, this is not a farming map, or this isn't real, quote unquote, and I'm not going to touch it kind of thing. And then there's going to be other people who are going to be like, you know what, this is a cool concept, I love it, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that's really kind of the way that every single map is, to an extent. You've got the kind of, you know, various people liking different things. So I guess all that being said is that this map is going to, I think it's going to be not necessarily divisive, but I think it's going to hit people differently, and I think a lot more vigorously than, say, any other map. You know, it's going to be one of those maps you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of in between kind of thing. But I overall love it. I think this is fantastic. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this tour. If you did, please show me by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, commenting, doing all the things the algorithms enjoy you doing. That shows you're engaged with this channel and enjoying the content. And that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care.